Thanks for tuning into the BoshNRoll channel. Liking the video and subscribing to the channel are free and easy for you, and they help me out a lot. If you want to go further with your support, Patreon and YouTube membership offer access to the BoshNRoll Discord community, early access to lists, written content, things like that. You can have me play your deck on the channel, and the highest tiers come with individual coaching sessions. If you use YouTube membership, you also get sweet badges and emotes integrated here into YouTube. You can support the channel while you shop at tcgplayer.com by using my affiliate link in the video description, and you can play any deck anytime by using a cardhoarder.com loan account on Magic Online. If you want to wear your support, check out the merch store. And of course, thanks for being here. Now let's go play some Magic. Hello, and welcome back once again to the BoshNRoll channel. Today I have an exciting brew challenge from Patreon subscriber Dragon Day Dragon. They wanted me to build a Legacy or Modern deck featuring Spellstutter Sprite and Spell Queller as 4-ofs, and the rest was up to me. Spellstutter Sprite, 1 and a blue for a fairy with flash. When it enters the battlefield, counter target spell with mana value X or less, where X is the number of fairies you control. So this is just like a 1/1 counter spell for 1-drops, or if you actually have fairies in your deck, it can get bigger. Spell Queller, when it ETBs, exile target spell with mana value 4 or less, and then when it leaves the battlefield, the exiled card's controller may cast that card without paying its mana cost. So this is a bigger body. It can counter bigger spells, but it's temporary. If they ever kill your Spell Queller, they get their spell back and things can fall apart quickly. So you want ways to protect your Spell Queller once you commit the board to it. This is the first crack I took at it. Obviously, I started with Bant because, let's be serious, this is the BoshNRoll channel. But I got to a point where I just wanted so many cards in the deck that it was about to become a Yorion deck, at which point it would be hard to keep the density of Spellstutter Sprite and Spell Queller effects. And I gave up on this brew and went to this one. This one was a question of, what's the most messed up thing I can do on turn 1 to force my opponent to play into Daze and Spellstutter Sprite and Spell Queller while they bleed out? And obviously that's Ragavan. And once I started actually putting the pieces of this deck together, I realized it's just another Jeskai Ragavan deck, and that's boring, and that's not what anyone came here to see. Which brings me to my final cut and the version I'm going to play here. This is Esper Tempo Ninjas. I took heavy inspiration from the Pauper engine, which is Spellstutter Sprite, counter a spell, and then pick it up with a ninja, so then you get to connect with your ninja, draw a card, and Spellstutter Sprite's back in your hand to counter the removal spell that would be pointed at your ninja. That's a classic Pauper interaction. It's been around basically since Spellstutter Sprite was printed, still at the top tier of that format today. This deck was a fun challenge to build because obviously you need lands and it's Legacy, so you want your Brainstorms, your Ponders, your Force of Wills, and the stipulations of the league required me to play 4 Sprite, 4 Queller, and then I had to fill in the rest. And I did want actual fairies in the deck to make Spellstutter Sprite hit harder in the mid and late game, so that's where Vendilion Clique and Brazen Borrower come from. Those are also just defensible Legacy cards. Anytime I have Vendilion Clique in a deck, I want to play Karakas and Teferi, and I usually try to sneak in one no extra cards effect, like Narset, Leovold, etc. So that's where the 1 Hull Breacher comes from. You've seen me do this on the channel before, where Vendilion Clique, Hull Breacher, Karakas, and Teferi are all individually playable Legacy Magic cards, but if you start to get combinations of them together, they become pretty oppressive. Like Vendilion Clique, if you take a card from their hand with Hull Breacher in play, you get a treasure when they try to draw the replacement card that Clique would normally give them. Karakas can pick up Clique every turn, because it's a legend, so you can check their draw step every turn. If you have Hull Breacher, you steal their draw step and turn it into a treasure every turn. If you have Teferi, there's nothing they can do about it. That's just a lock. And it's small, it won't come up often, but it's close to free to include all these cards in your deck together. Teferi is here in such high numbers. There's 3 of them. Like my first builds of the Bant version just had 1 because it's a good blue-white card, whatever. But I ended up on 3 here because there's an important thing that Teferi does, which is each opponent can only cast spells anytime they could cast a sorcery. Spell Queller When Queller leaves the battlefield, the exiled card's controller may cast that card without paying its mana cost. And they cast that card as part of resolving Queller's ability, which, if Queller's ability is on the stack, they can't cast a sorcery. So Teferi turns Queller into just exile target spell. They can't cast it even if they kill your Queller, which is important because if we plan on picking up our Queller with these ninjas, then we're going to be giving them their spell back unless we have Teferi. And I have almost as many Teferis as I have Quellers in the deck. Hopefully that will line up in a way that is fortuitous for us. The ninja package is really light. There are only 3. It's 2 Yurikos and 1 Fallen Shinobi. I just went with the most powerful ninjas, like the ones that if they hit, they actually do something significant to the game. Ninja of the Deep Hours is pretty comparable to Yuriko, but drawing a card versus flipping a card into your hand and dealing damage to your opponent, like Yuriko is just a little better. And in the rare occasion where you have Yuriko and Fallen Shinobi in play, Yuriko will trigger off Shinobi. So there's just like a little upside there at the cost of taking a black mana instead of a colorless. You can also protect your Yuriko with Karakas, that might come up. But the reason this package is so small is because this deck doesn't enable turn 2 ninjas at all. I messed around with versions that had Changeling Outcast. It's also a fairy, it's unblockable, it plays well with ninjas, but there was no room in this deck for the Retrofitter Foundries that traditional ninja shells would play, which turn your shitty 1 and 0 drops into 4/4s in the mid game. And this deck just can't afford shitty 0 and 1 drops in it because it has no way to convert them other than ninjaing in. And it just like got too tight. So the ninjas are just a thing that can happen while we play an otherwise sort of fairy tempo game plan. With the abundance of 3 drops in this deck, and even this 4 drop in Fallen Shinobi, I realized that this is no longer a Daze deck. The Bant and Jeskai versions were Daze decks. They had Wasteland in them because they could both accelerate on mana with Noble Hierarch or Ragavan. But casting Daze in a deck full of 3 drops where you can't recoup that mana anywhere is pretty bad. So I just leaned into kind of tap out. Like, ideally we'll tap out on turn 2 and then maybe never again. Like, most of these things have flash. The only thing that doesn't is Teferi, and Bitterblossom can control a game. Until that point, we just became like a mid-range fairy control deck rather than a tempo deck. And I think that makes sense for this particular build of the deck. The sideboard is mostly stuff you'd expect out of a Esper deck. Just various counter spells, help against combo, help against tribal strategies, help against Urza Saga and Dress Down. But I get to play a very exciting card that I haven't put on the channel, maybe ever. But this is Ancient Technology from the early days. And this is Sabo's Web. 2-mana artifact, ETB draw a card, even cantrips, so busted. Each land with an activated ability that isn't a mana ability doesn't untap during its controller's untap step. All of the lands in my deck except for Karakas, well, if my fetch lands get tapped somehow, they don't get to untap with Sabo's Web. But Karakas has the ability of bouncing a legend, which means it would get caught up by Web. But the rest of my lands are just honest tap for mana lands. Web doesn't get them. What Web does get is Thespian Stage, Urza Saga, Rashadan Port. There's all of those. Like, I was really worried about lands. It's a popular deck, and my deck is really susceptible to Wasteland the way it's constructed. And because it's a 3-color deck, you don't really get to work around that. So I couldn't play back to basics the way traditional ninjas would with their 6 or 7 basic lands. But Sabo's Web, I'm pretty excited about. And we get all the best white removal in Legacy because we're a white deck. 3 colors makes Prismatic Ending playable. I am pretty excited to try this deck. I don't know if it's going to line up well against the format. Like, when looking at this deck on paper, I can imagine board states where I can win against most things. It's just if it lines up right. Like, if Ragavan starts connecting and my Spellstutter Sprite gets behind, that's going to be tough to pull ahead of. If I like plow the Ragavan and then hold up Spellstutter Sprite for the Dragon's Rage channel, or like that sort of game, I can definitely win. I don't know. Bitterblossom's also really good at bricking Ragavan. We'll see how this plays out. I have not played a deck quite like this in Legacy in a very long time, and exactly like this never, because this deck's never been played because I just made it. Let's see if this pans out. Let's see if the theory holds, and let's get into these games. I'm on the play in round 1, and we get to live the dream of Island Ponder. I'm keeping. Get to curve Ponder into Spellstutter Sprite? This is busted. Ponder. Ooh. Well, it got better. Do not shuffle that library. Put the Black Source on top, the Bitterblossom under it. Oh no. Well, I don't care about Chalice of the Void at all. I hope they do have Chalice of the Void, in fact. Yeah. Let's see if Bitterblossom lines up against whatever this deck is doing. It's going to have to, because Spellstutter Sprite lines up pretty poorly against Ancient Tomb without a little help. Well, that Bitterblossom just resolved. They are a blue deck. Oh, they're this. Okay, this is fun. Opal. Now I got some choices. I can ram Teferi onto this deck. I can exile Sword of the Meek so it's gone forever. And that also takes them off Metalcraft. I could hold up Spellstutter Sprite where X is 3. I think I want Teferi in. Yeah, I can exile the Thopter next turn. Right. Yeah, Teferi just snap resolved. I'm actually going to bounce Sword of the Meek. That's the card I'm worried about them having in play. And I don't really care about the Chalice, and I don't want them to be able to redeploy it on 2. Sword's back. They lost another 2 life to get it. Wow, that was just Time Walk. Sign me up. It was better than Time Walk because they lost 2 life. It was just like Time Walk, shock, Time Shock. Oh, I have the Queller Teferi combo. It's all coming together. I'm going to plus Teferi, attack with one of my Fairy Rogues, and I have Spellstutter Sprite for 4 and 5. Plus I have Prismatic Ending as an instant. This is what Immortality feels like. There, Kraken a fetch. Lotus Petal resolves. That would be fun to Spellstutter though. So I think we can do better on this board. Urza. What a bummer for you, opponent. Spellstutter Sprite, you're Urza. Yep, 4 is big enough. Get rid of that. And I'm going to exile Sword of the Meek in the end step. That's the card I'm most worried about just sitting in play. Oh my god, I drew Fallen fucking Shinobi. I was about to say, the best draw in my deck right now is Fallen Shinobi. I don't get to do it till next turn, because I'm not going to pass the turn against this combo deck and tap out of Spell Queller and Spellstutter Sprite, of which I can cast both. I can Shinobi next turn, if I find a land. If I don't, then I'm still just going to play it safe. Cracking a fetch. Oh, was Shinobi lethal last turn? No, it only adds 4 extra damage to the board. If they tap Ancient Tomb, I have lethal. If they don't tap Ancient Tomb, I still have lethal because of Shinobi. That was a strong first outing, it's safe to say. Okay, opponent is doing some Urza Thopter Foundry shit. I like Plague Engineer. You can just name Thopter, and then the combo doesn't work anymore. I don't think I want the rest of these cards. They're probably a Saga deck. I should respect that with Dress Down a little bit. I think I want to shave a Yuriko and All Breacher. And Yuriko just gets blocked so easily. If they do any amount of Thopters, that party's over. Swords to Plowshares may not be particularly effective against their deck, especially now that we know they're a Chalice deck. I still want some number to answer Urza's or Emry's that sneak through before my counter wall's up. Actually, maybe this, because they're a combo deck, maybe I just want my ninjas out. Like, the ninjas are the only thing that really happen at sorcery speed. I can put my Hull Breacher back in for another flash threat, and the ninjas and plows are out, and then just answers to constructs and Thopters come in. And this isn't a deck where connecting with Fallen Shinobi is even particularly good, because, like, what if you flip, like, Ancient Tomb and Chalice of the Void? You're just not even going to use them. Okay, these are in. Do I want the second Hull Breacher now that I know what's going on? Don't think it's better than Borrower or Click. Just actual fairy count matters here. This looks like a really good Spell Queller deck. They probably don't have a lot of spot removal in their deck, and they're probably relying on casting 4 mana spells, and they might even have Cavern of Souls in their deck. Let's do the thing. On the draw, I can answer things and cast Bitterblossom. This is a keep. Being on the draw against Tomb decks, being able to answer their whatever the hell is important. Like their Chalice or their Sphere or whatever it is. Prismatic Ending's good at doing all of those things. They did the Bauble trick. With a fetch land, you can build your own Scry with Mishra's Bauble. Brazen Borrow also is going to line up well against what they're doing, I suspect. Ancient Tomb Go is the play. Well, it's time to slam Bitterblossom and hope for the best. Uh-oh, am I getting stifled? What fuck is this? Are you playing around Stifle? Wow, I am getting stifled. Good for you. I'm proud of you, opponent. Okay. That was messed up. Well, I'll play around that one in the future. I'm getting stifled straight into an Urza. Ooh, weird. They're doing weird stuff. Brainstorm looking for Force of Will. Found it. Ending might be important, but not both of them, and not right away. So ending, and then I think Force Pitching Spell Queller is the play. Because if they force me back here, I'm going to need the Brazen Borrower to stabilize. Did force back, pitching an Uro. Oh, this is Uroza. I played this deck a few times on the channel back when... It was either when Oko was legal or right after it was banned. This deck rules. Big fan. Okay, now I have some choices to make. I can stick the Bitterblossom, accept whatever pounding happens next turn, and then ending and borrow the turn after that. Yeah, I think I have to invest in the future with Bitterblossom now. If I don't cast it now, it's not getting cast. And even now, it might be dangerously late. Nimble Obstructionist. Good stuff. Abrupt Decay. Nice. Okay, that was not a bad use of Bitterblossom. I'm gonna raise and borrow the Construct token. And I'm gonna Prismatic Ending the Lotus Petal too. Because I want to spend my mana and constrict their options. Like if they start flipping with Urza, things get dangerous quickly. Emery, alright, I have her covered. I wouldn't have exiled the Petal if I didn't have 2 endings. Just for the record. Baleful Strix in this deck. Exciting. Alright, I like Teferi. That will be good eventually. Right now, my job is to get rid of Emery. Black, white, blue. Trade 3 colors. 1 card in hand. Please don't be Spell Piercer. Just exile your Emery. Stop it. Okay, it's gone. I am winning the damage race right now. Brazen Borrower is much bigger than Urza. And I have more life points to start. Thanks, Ancient Tomb. Shout out. Okay, I can Ponder and try to develop into Brazen Borrower. I guess Ponder... I have Swords to Plowshares and stuff in my deck. Queller, another Ponder. Might want Queller next turn. I'll just put this Sprite in my hand now. I don't expect their deck to have any 1-drops, but they do have some number of 0s. And I'm just going to run the Sprite out as an attacker if they don't do anything else. This looks like an Urza flip. Okay. Oh, it hit Uro. Jesus. Alright, straight off to the races with that one. Now I am still winning the race, but this Uro in the graveyard is pretty scary. Urza puts me to 12. Please cast a Bauble. Damn it. Alright. I'll just cast my Sprite. I'm drawing Queller. And now the race is on for real. Back with Queller. If they cast a spell that I need to interact with, I have Queller. If they don't, I have Brazen Borrower. So I'm spending my mana this turn one way or the other. If their plan is to just keep blind flipping with Urza, that's not very good. Do I care about Sai? I can start a fight over Sai and then engineer the Thoppies. If they've been slow rolling artifacts, though, that's rough on me. All right. I'll just quell it. No reason to get fancy here. Force Pitching Force of Negation was the last card, or they have 1 card left in their hand. They have Plague Engineer for Sai. And Chalice on 1, sure. You got it. The Plague Engineer will brick their entire action, because a 2/2 Death Touch beats their pair of Horned Turtles, and I'm gonna name Thopter with the Engineer, of course. And they tap their Ancient Tomb again, so they go to 8. Black. Had this one in the tank the whole time. Thopter. Drink that. Attack for 1. In the Urza is really powerful. If they find a green source, they get to Uro. Okay, the Thopter dies immediately, but Strix is pretty good. Now the board is stable again. They can flip Urza if they want. They found the green source for next turn. So Uro is now on the table, or casting Uro is now an option, is what I mean. Uro's not literally on the table, not yet, but that is happening soon. Plague Engineer. I can name Bird. Keep bashing. I think I need to save the Teferi to send Uro back from whence it came. Yeah, I could engineer Bird, or I could double up on engineer on Thopter. If I engineer Bird, I get to attack with both. Okay, I'm in. Engineer Bird. And attack with both my creatures. Put them to a life total where they can't tap Ancient Tomb anymore. They have to double block and lose both their creatures if they want to fight the Plague Engineer. The Uro is going to get them a lot of life over the next couple turns. I'm going to need Teferi to tread water against that. Here's Uro. Go back up to 5. They still don't have any attacks. Oh, that was a great draw. Love me a Force of Will. Blue, white, colorless. Fairy is going to bounce Uro. Then I attack with everything. And they have to block at least one of them or they die. Then I can force Uro on the way back down, and because I have Teferi, I know it's going to work. Though they can keep one of their 2 creatures and kill Teferi before redeploying the Uro. Get Uro out. The 3rd Plague Engineer, let's go. Present a lethal attack. Chumping with Sai makes sense. They go to 2. Urza can attack Teferi. I'm going to just jam Force on the front half of Uro here. Oh wait, does that even make sense? Well, green, green, blue. They're actually pretty close to replaying this thing. It depends on how many green sources they have. Any artifact gets them a 2nd blue. Yeah, I might fight over the back end instead of the front end. Cracking fetch lands to do this hurts their life total. Okay, that one is a green source. Okay, I get to force Uro on the back end now. I get to attack into Urza again. They go to 1, but then they get 1 more escape of Uro. And then I gotta beat Uro the turn after that. Plus Teferi. Attack with my creatures. Put them to 1. We go back up to 4. Then I play Brazen Borrower, and I have 4 power of attacking next turn. So they need to Uro and also answer at least one of my flyers this turn. And they have to do it all without Urza. There he is. There's the Uro. I love how hard we've ignored Chalice of the Void in these last 2 games. I hate when my blue decks are susceptible to Chalice. Like my cantrip decks, but this deck, most of its interaction is in 2 and 3 mana creatures. I like that a lot. They didn't come up with what they were looking for. A decisive victory. Esper Faerie Ninjas is undefeated all time in Legacy as of right now. On the draw in round 2, I have a perfectly normal Esper mid-range hand. I'm going to keep it. No Bitterblossom yet, but I plow Brainstorm. That's good stuff. Uh-oh. It's lands. Well, this is the matchup I was most scared of when I constructed the deck. Let's see how hard that plays out in practice. I write Spellbomb. That's pretty good against Spellstutter Sprite. Oh, they're lands, but no lands. Interesting. So their hand is just a bunch of crop rotations. Loam, maybe? I don't know. I don't like that. That's confusing. Oh, just drawing a card. I think you'd want to do that main phase most of the time if you just missed land drops with your lands deck. Punishing Fire, probably in this hand. I'm just trying to think of what spells are even in this deck. That would... Someone would keep 7 with 2 lands and no way to find more. Fascinating. I'm going to get my basic, start there. Brainstorm. Okay. I don't want 2 Swords to Plowshares. Like, having 1 around as Merit Insurance is fine. But you definitely don't need 2 of that card. I'm going to fetch those away. Get Underground Sea set up here. You know what card is really good against crop rotation? Spellstutter Sprite. Please cast crop rotation. Holy shit. Welcome to the Shadow Realm. Oh, that was fucked up. Blast Zone. They finally drew a land. Hitting Needle. Okay, what do you name with that in the blind? Yuriko. Alright, Jace. I don't play that card. Okay, I can get the hooks in with Click Caracas at this point. Yeah, I'm going to play the Caracas. Attack with Spellstutter. Then hopefully this turn I can get a peek at what's going on over there in that hand. Set a stop in their draw step. I don't think I want to use it. I want to end step this Click and see what they do up front first. Okay, here's Click. They don't have red mana for Punishing Fire. I'm probably not going to take a card. I don't know. Let's see. 2 Valakut Explorations, Mox Diamond. Nope, you can have all of those. Exploration, 2 Valakuts, and Mox Diamond. Yeah, that's not a problem for me. I have all of those cards answered, and I have a respectable clock bearing down in the meantime. In for 4, pass the turn, tempo deck. Charging Blast Zone up to 2 in the end step. That makes sense. Expedition map. I should probably Spellstutter that while I can. I don't want them to unlock red mana. Because right now I know that this Blast Zone can't hit what it needs to hit. I'm going to try to cheese as much damage over the finish line before they stabilize. Because then I'm going to have to find ways to cheese more. Oh, I guess I should have flashed in Brazen Borrower there. Yeah, if I was on the full damage cheese strat, I should have flashed in Brazen Borrower. So it is kind of nice having two 2-drops in play and 1 3-drop. So I don't think they really have time to build up the Blast Zone to kill 3s. Yeah, Brazen Borrower should be in play. Mox Diamond can resolve. I'll counter the Valakut Exploration. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, if I flashed in Brazen Borrower last turn, they'd be actual dead right now. But instead, I didn't do that. Oh, but they're giving me a chance. Oh, this is sick. I get to bounce Mox Diamond and then play Brazen Borrower because they just let me have this 5 mana. Petty Theft, Mox Diamond. Blue-green. Right, they're blowing up my Spellstutter sprites. You got it. They spent their turn taking 2 damage off the board, and I got to add 3 damage to the board and also remove their mana source. 2 of their mana sources, because they also cracked the Blast Zone. 6 mana up right now. That's enough to spell Queller their spell and play Hull Breacher, so I'll save this last land. This game's not going another turn, so I don't know why I'm planning ahead for a Brainstorm. Life from the Loam. I don't care about this at all. Yeah, that resolves. I'm not going to show them Spell Queller if I don't have to. Like, they're dead on board, and that doesn't change it. I can show them Hull Breacher, though I don't need it. Why would I do that? Yeah, okay. Just Loam concede. Love to see it. Zabo's Web. Let's go. Surgical Extraction also coming in to fight the Loams. Dress Down. This is a Saga deck, generally, in the way that it is constructed. I don't think I want any plows in the deck. I have Caracas, Brazen Borrower, and a bunch of flying blockers and Teferi. Like, I got game against Merit Lage. Oh, Bitterblossom also. That's a card that's been used in Legacies Past specifically to beat Merit Lage. Just like Grixis Control, we'll just like play 2 of these sometimes for the Merit Lage matchups. That's like history long gone at this point, but that was a thing that used to happen. I do want all the ninjas, because anything that pushes extra damage on the stable board is good for me. Hull Breacher's actually really bad. I'd rather have Force of Will than Hull Breacher. This deck doesn't draw cards, and they have a lot of ways to defeat X2 creatures. I'm ready to battle against Punishing Fire and Loam with my Surgicals. Yeah, I think this is the deck. A 1-lander, but it does have Ponder. I gotta live up to the brand. Island Ponder Keep. Check out the merch store. Buy a shirt. Expedition map. Okay. I'm gonna get the basic, and then I need to ponder into a black source, basically. Got there. I don't need a second Bitterblossom, but I will take these 2 lands with absolute joy. Ghost Quarter. Yikes. I don't have 2 of those. Bitterblossom. Let's go. Get Merit Lage off my back for a while. See what this map's doing. Is it going to get Saga? If so, oh, Tabernacle lines up well against Bitterblossom. That's a win condition. Jesus. Fuck. Maybe this deck needs a Wasteland in it. Yeah, I actually don't think... Well, I can just hit land drops, but that's going to be really hard to play through, especially if they realize I'm out of basics with this Ghost Quarter. Oh no, they had Wasteland too. Oh, right, I was supposed to shuffle that away. I didn't want the second one. I can Brainstorm, get rid of this one, and it clicks a long way off. Gonna lean in and ponder. Get a white source this time. Shuffle this. I just need land drops at this point. Round one. Taiga, Exploration, shit. Oh, they had Wasteland also. Okay. Oh, they didn't play the... I was like ready to pay mana for Tabernacle. It's just not in play yet. That's right. That's how that works. All right, Yuriko. Pretty dope. I did just misstack my Ponder somehow. I was just excited about Yuriko and started clicking. I'm going to have to awkwardly use Brainstorm to find Yuriko here. Yuriko is the kind of card that can get me ahead here, though. Ab Saga. Okay, I am not paying for either of these this turn. Is that right? No, that's not right. I'm going to pay for both. I'll stop paying next turn, but I wasn't going to use this mana this turn anyway. The option was play Teferi and bounce Urza Saga, but I'd rather be attacking. Yep, they got that going. It's a good time for a Zabo's Web. Maze of Ith, come on. All right, well, I'm shuffling away my cards now. Yuriko just got really bad. Underground Sea in the mix. Do I pay for any of these at this point? No, I think they're all just gonna die. I get a new one. Photobug. Okay, Brainstorm. Looking for the web now. Come on, Zabo. Don't let me down. Brazen Bar is actually good against the Construct. Spellstutter Sprite could find a target in Loam or Crop Rotation, but I don't think they're going to cast a lot of spells the rest of this game. I'm going to fetch Tundra. I'm almost out of those. Looking for the web. Show me the web. The World Wide Web. This is awkward. Dress Down's good, but the other two cards are bad. This is a shuffle. My deck has one job right now, and it's to come up with Zabo's Web. They made a construct in the end step, as you do. Their Tabernacle is sort of pressuring this Mega Go Wide construct plan. And I can use Bitterblossom as force field for a while. Just like block a 3/3 with my 1/1 that took me 1 life. Like I take 1 life from an attacker instead of whatever its power and toughness actually are. I hope they mega greed and just go for a Pyrite Spellbomb to try to cheese damage here. I don't think that makes sense to do, but it could do. Shadow Spear is actually horrifying at this point. Not every lands deck plays Shadow Spear, but it would be very good right now. I think Stage just copied Saga again. Was that a misclick? Is there a reason to do that? I don't think that's a real thing. I'm confused. Oh, Field of the Dead. Yeah, that one's going to be hard to beat. I hope their Tabernacle keeps it in check. All right, I'll go into force field mode here. Block the construct. And I guess I'll bounce construct. I'm not spending my mana on anything else right now. That gets Brazen Borrower at least in exile for the future. Another Queller. I'm going to Teferi first and bounce their tapped Thespian Stage. Oh, maybe not. All right. This is worth a Force of Will, for sure. Queller's out. Teferi's in. Bounce their tapped Thespian Stage. Prismatic Ending can hit Exploration. I don't hate that. I'm still going to need a web, and even after the web, I have to beat my own Bitterblossom somehow. I'm going to block, keep my Teferi around. If they want to use Pyrite Spellbomb to finish it off, I want to make them do that. The Age is back. It's not an Urza Saga anymore, though. I'll take that. Choke! Well, now I'm dead. Is there any reason left to play this game? I don't think so. I'm dead to choke. I can save us some time. Oh, good to know they have choke. That means that I want my 4th Force of Will back in the deck, probably. Or being on the play helps with my tempo deck for sure. Bitterblossom. I think I was just convinced that they have the tools to make Bitterblossom kind of bad. Though it wasn't bad. Though Tabernacle is just a giant beating. The 4th Force. Yeah, I'll bring the 4th Force back in and play like this. Yeah, let's do it. I could bring in all my Plague Engineers and try to get a double Engineer on Zombie to lock out the field plan if the game goes long, but I'm really not trying to play a game that goes that long. On the play, I don't really have anything going on here. Does that mean it's a mulligan? I don't think so. I have lands and spells with Brainstorm. This game's going to go long. I don't have like a Delver or Ragavan I can mull to really punish on turn 1. And this hand's actually pretty good. I can Prismatic Ending an Exploration if it's not too late. Okay, that's a lot of lands now. Gonna Brainstorm off Tundra. I don't need these 2 clicks, not right away. Not both of them anyway. And I'm gonna put back a land click, fetch another Tundra, exile their Exploration. Hopefully that will make Wasteland actually cost something. But they have 2. You just put me to no permanence. Or they could just turn 2 choke me, holy shit. Or turn 3 choke me. I somehow didn't plan for that. They distracted me with the Wasteland. I was like, that's not a big deal if they waste me. Now it's a huge deal. At least I took out the Exploration. I am hitting land drops. Every land in my deck is an island, though. Especially the ones that cast these blue cards. I need to hit land drops until... Oh, their Valakut Exploration just generated Expedition map after they played Dark Depths, so they can make Dark Depths next, or make Merit Lage next turn. Oh, I have Caracas. That's not an island. Force of Will. A little late to the party here. I need 3rd land and Prismatic Ending, and that all has to happen before Merit Lage kills me. I guess I should take one more draw step, see if how they play this. Maybe there's some universe where they don't turbo out the Merit Lage. They don't really need to do that if they just get Saga here. Oh god, they just got Grove of the Burn Willows. It's even worse than I thought. Second Valakut Exploration. That is a win condition. I'm gonna force that pitching Vendilion Click. I'm not gonna cast a 3-drop this game. Another Exploration. Shit. Do I think this Spellstutter Sprite can go coast to coast? Not for a second. Well, I had the tools to get out of this. I had the Prismatic Ending. I just lost a choke and then was immediately like, LOL. Let's just play into choke. Okay, I drew Web. I'm gonna at least... That's the fucking spell that I put in my deck for this matchup. Let's go. This isn't even good. It just locks down their Wasteland. But I'm casting it. Maybe we can just take turns choking each other. Yeah, their collection of lands that they have in play right now are shockingly not full of activated abilities, considering how the lands deck is constructed. And now they don't need to cast spells. Well, they're out of land drops. Oh, Brazen Borrower, fuck. I had so many outs. This Web was terrible. I should have bounced the choke with Brazen Borrower this turn. I don't even know what's happening anymore. And they hit a 2nd choke. They just found Stage off of Exploration. I think they've made their land drops, though. Yeah, they played Maze and Dark Depths. Backup choke. So dead. Yeah, I forgot about Brazen Borrower. Maybe I was more in this game than I thought. Now I'm dead. Yeah, if I borrow the 1st choke, I mean, they found the 2nd that turn. I don't know. Maybe with perfect hindsight, we could have navigated this game differently. Yeah, if I just don't cast Web, I can bounce choke, untap for a turn, cast Web, maybe cantrip into Force for a choke on the way back down. I might have given up too easy in that one. We're a few rounds into the video. Thanks for sticking with me. Friendly reminder that if you're still here and having fun, smash that subscribe button. And if you want to play what I'm playing, you can use my affiliate link for TCG Player to support the channel while you shop for cards, and you can try any deck anytime with a cardhoarder.com loan account for Magic Online. All these links are in the video description below. Now back to the league. On the draw for round 3, Island Ponder Keep. Let's go. Uh-oh. We're getting reanimated. There's nothing I can do about it. They'll probably take my Swords to Plowshares here. Yep. Oh, they didn't have a follow-up. Oh, and I drew the Force of Will after the thing. Dope. All right. They checked my hand. Didn't entomb in the end step either. Wow, what's going on over there? They're just exhuming that card. No way, that's actually good. I'm going to force pitching Queller. Leaving mana unspent here feels kind of bad. Maybe I should have pondered on my turn. I'll ponder now. Okay, I like the land. I like the click. I can't get both necessarily. Which one do I like more? I think I like the click more. My hand is full of cantrips. That's how we find more lands in these legacy decks. If they reanimate Grief again, I can Swords to Plowshare it. Get my Tundra, plow this. It'll be interesting if they take click, or if they take a cantrip with this. Because taking click, they can reanimate it, but it makes Exhume worse. Holy B. 2 Force of Wills, yep. Top, top, top. Not shuffle. Hit the land drop. I can brainstorm into double Force of Will if I need to. And by double Force of Will, I mean 1 Force of Will. There's 2 of them there, though. Another Grief. Pitching Thoughtseize. And like, I don't really want to counter this, but I think I have to. I'll put back Hull Breacher and the land. Force pitching Force on this thing. Because if their last card in hand's a reanimation spell, I'm hellbent anyway. Please draw Faithless Looting. Please draw Faithless Looting. Okay, they just passed the turn. I'm Hull Breaching. I'm going to hold this Underground Sea in my hand. I want them respecting something. Thinking about something. Little bluff action. If they spend an Unmasker Thoughtseize on this, that's great. Oh, God. Which of these is better? I guess it's got to be Yuriko, right? There she is. If I had played my land last turn, I would have been able to redeploy Hull Breacher here, but I don't think that's super important. They could get a turn of looting in. Animating Grief. Okay. All right, yeah, that actually would have been a huge deal. Grief can't kill Yuriko right now because it's a 2-2. That's pretty great. Grief also can't attack because then I get to clap with Yuriko. This is a very modern power level hand that they've kept. I'm going to play one of the lands and then never play the other. One of them being a fetch land for brainstorm considerations is worth a lot to me. The 4 cards in their hand are really scary. I need to start connecting with Yuriko ASAP. Okay, brainstorm. Don't shuffle the brainstorm. Shuffle before I cast brainstorm, though. Get another Tundra. Cast this brainstorm. There we go. Put back Underground Sea and Teferi. Oh, wait. I can cast Teferi plus Teferi. Oh, wait. I don't have enough cards in my hand to do this. I can put back Underground Sea and Flooded Strand. All right, figured it out. Prismatic Ending, the Animate Dead. White, black. Exile that. That makes Grief die. And then Yuriko. I guess I should have stacked this differently so they take 3 extra damage. Yeah, all right. I misstacked the Ponder, but I did figure out how to get all the cards where I want them. Plus Teferi, so I know they're not entombing right now. And if they do animate one of my creatures, I bounce it with Teferi, then it's my creature again. I'm pretty far from safe, though. Like, if they Grizzlebrand, reanimate, draw 14, combo me out here, that's a line. I hope they just flashback looting and pass the turn. They can't really exhume, or they can, it's just bad. Because if they exhume, I bring back Hull Breacher, and then Grizzlebrand doesn't work. Discarded 3 Grizzlebrands this turn. Uh-oh. They have the Petal. Do they have the reanimate? Okay. They put Grizzlebrand into play, but can't activate it because they're at 7. So I bounce it with Teferi, connect with Yuriko. Okay. Grizzlebrand is out. Yuriko's in. And we revealed Prismatic Ending. Spellstutter Sprite is pretty good against this Reanimator deck. They have a lot of 1-drops that they like. Unmasking me. Exiling what? Grizzlebrand? Yes. Well, they're going to take the Spellstutter anyway, so let me put it onto the stack. At least another creature in play. Oh, Exhume's their last card. I think I would rather have Hullbreacher in play. And a 7/7 lifelink is serious business. But I can block it for a turn. And then attack with my 2 creatures, get a Yuriko trigger. Got this backup Spellstutter. And Teferi can bounce Grizzlebrand this turn. Yeah, we're doing fine. Just fine. I hope they forget about Hullbreacher and draw 7 right now. Do it. Do it. Reanimate targeting Grief. Another one for the highlight reel. This league's going to have a pretty dope highlight reel. And they scooped. I drew a second Teferi also. Nice. Okay, against this deck, Surgical Extraction, obviously. Flusterstorm. Yes. Hullbreacher is surprisingly relevant against Grizzlebrand and Faithless Looting. I will keep that around. Grafdigger's Cage, that's what you're for. I don't really like Dress Down, because Dress Down acknowledges that they might have a creature in play at some point, which is... it's my job to make sure that doesn't happen. Bitterblossom's not great here. It's just a thing I have to tap out for early, which I don't really want to do. Their deck doesn't play a lot of removal, so the Spell Queller is actually just juicy all on its own. And Prismatic Ending, we had a cool play where we were able to Prismatic Ending a Animate Dead that game, but I don't think that's actually what you want to be doing. Swords to Plowshares. I could turn some number of Plow into Deafening Silence, but Plow is actually reasonable, especially against an opponent who's willing to keep hands like that one they did last game, where they're like, you know, it's just like a modern deck. Just evoke Grief and then turn to Exhume Grief. Like, if they had mulliganed into a real creature, I would have been dead for sure. Do I want Deafening Silence? That slows down Grizzlebrands. It slows down busted turns. Makes them sort of play on my speed. But if I end up in a situation where I need to like cantrip to an out, then it really hurts me. I think I should make room for these. Yeah, Deafening Silences are in. 1 Plow, 1 Teferi out. Teferi's just a 3-drop. I like all my ninjas. Fallen Shinobi would... this is the kind of deck you want to connect with Fallen Shinobi against. I am going to keep this, even though it's not mega exciting. It does have Flusterstorm if they give me a turn. If they spend a turn Thought-Seizing Flusterstorm, then I can ponder into more answers. And I do have Surgicals in my deck. I have Surgicals and Forces, so I have a bunch of 0-mana ways to interact post-ponder. This isn't any of them. Shuffle, YOLO shuffle? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. They know the coast is clear. Please don't have it. Please don't have it. Just Thoughtseize me some more. All right. Looks like we're dying this game. Oh. They're just hard casting Grief. Deal. I bet they take Ponder. That's what I would take. Unless they're scared of Yuriko from last game. Had it. Always had it. Entomb. That's harsh. They have the Reanimate also. They have Animate Dead also. Okay. Well, I have to plow this Grizzlebrand. Oh, I should have fetched first. Not sure how much that matters. I don't think it actually matters. They get to draw 14, and they lose Grizzlebrand along the way. Now I can F6 because they know my whole hand. Let's see if they're a combo build that can Tendrils me out here. They can probably at least put another Grizzlebrand into play. Unmask is dangerous because now Exhume gives me a creature back. Alright, they're just putting me full Hellbent. They exiled Reanimates to both of those unmasks. I guess 10 life is kind of low. I don't know. I feel like if you're pitching Reanimates, I'm probably not facing down another monster this turn. Yep, accurate. They discarded Grizzlebrand to hand size and another Reanimate. They're not interested in casting Reanimate. I have this Flusterstorm that I don't think is going to hit anything important. Thoughtseize. Yeah, I'm going to let that resolve. I can't counter it anyway, and them taking 2 life is actually worth something to me. Tomb. Okay. Archon. That one's hard to beat. Animating Archon. I discard my Underground Sea. Still draw to Teferi or Swords to Plowshares here. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, I'm dead. Yeah, that's why you don't want Grizzlebrand to be in play. That's what I always say. Like when I'm talking about Swords to Plowshares in the matchup, like, yeah, I answered the Grizzlebrand right away. Good job, me. But it doesn't matter because they drew 14. Dress Down's kind of interesting against this opponent who really seems to enjoy Grief. Like, dressing down a Grief means it stays in play even if it's evoked, but they don't get to take a card. I don't think that's good. It actually sounds really bad. Okay, I'm going in with the same 60 cards. I'll mulligan a little more aggressively this time, though. So now being on the play, that turn 1 Flusterstorm could have countered their discard spell, and then they don't know what they're dealing with. And I don't know. Let's just see a good hand. How about that? This is not a good hand. This is a good hand. They kept 7. The Charmed Life. I'm going to put Underground Sea on the bottom. Yeah. I guess Tundra is probably better because there's a world where I can hardcast Surgical Extraction. Wow, just passing. Oh, right. So, Swords to Plowshares for Grief-related shenanigans is a thing worth playing white land for. That's way better than black for Surgical. I take it all back. Looting. Okay. Discarded a Grizzle. Come on, Surgical Extraction, Blowout. Don't even really care about this Unmask anymore. Let me get a look at their hand. That's the cool thing about Faithless Looting. They have to commit the monster to the graveyard before anything else happens. Entomb, Petal, Reanimate, Show and Tell. Show and Tell's interesting. They have 3 of those in the deck. They do have Lotus Petal for blue mana. Archon, Grief. Get rid of these Grizzlebrands. There's no Children of Corliss or Tendrils, so we don't have to worry about that. Entomb, Petal, Reanimate, Show and Tell. And I'm going to Brainstorm in response. I don't want to hide this Yuriko and put it into play. I'm going to hide Yuriko and Spellstutter on top in that order. They probably take Deafening Silence here. Oh, nope, I'm wrong. Oh, wait, their hand literally had Entomb Reanimate in it, didn't it? Did I just, like, ignore all of that? What the fuck am I doing? Oh, right, they can get Archon here. Right, good thing I had 2 Swords of Plowshares. What the hell am I even talking about? I just, like, completely ignored the fact that their hand had Entomb Reanimate in it. Go home, Brian. You're drunk. Well, at least Swords to Plowshares takes care of this. I shuffle away the 2 creatures that I actually wanted. But we are stable against an opponent with no creatures in their graveyard and Show and Tell in their hand that they can't cast. Gotta put something into play here. All right, Spellstutter Sprite's a good start. If they flashback Faithless Looting, I can counter it. I'm not going to deploy this just as a 1/1 clock. All right, now we're doing the thing. Queller can even hit Grief. Nope. Yeah. Queller hitting Grief is a little bit dangerous because if they evoke Grief and I quell it, but then they kill Queller, they get to keep their Grief because they get to cast it normal, technically. And by cast it normal, I mean it was not evoked. Maybe I'm supposed to drop one of these Quellers here, but them being a Show and Tell deck also, getting Unmasked land Show and Tell would be pretty shitty if I could avoid it. They pitched Exhume to unmask me. Their hand is Show and Tell and 1 mystery card. I don't think there's a single mystery card that could mess me up here. This is a good target for Queller. It is a 4-drop. Get rid of it. Yeah, let's go. Now I can quell something, or I can deploy Borrower as a 3-power creature if I don't need to quell anything. Faithless Looting. I can quell that. I could fluster that. 5 puts them to 8. I'm actually going to quell this. Yoink. Underground Sea, good. Now I can fluster and deploy the lethal threat. I have exactly lethal attack with Flusterstorm back up here. Fluster that. This is a tempo game. This is exactly how you draw up a Spell Queller deck. And math is for attackers for once. Here is my exactly lethal attack with surgical backup, just in case. Still had all these. That felt awesome. This is the type of matchup that this tempo game plan should really shine against, and it did deliver this time. Awesome. I'm in the play in round 4 with an extremely serviceable hand. I'm going to keep it. I have the option of basic Island Ponder, but the island is, or the Misty is also my only source of white right now. Oh, I can lean into Wasteland and just play Underground Sea, or I can, like, that gives me access to white and also a shuffle off the remaining ponder cards if I don't want them. Or I could ponder and hope that that gives me the white source and be more stable on my way to my 3-drops. I think leading on the sea is better. Also, Underground Sea Ponder tells a very different story than basic Island Ponder. Shuffled those. There were 2 3-drops and a Swords to Plowshares there. I'm really just looking for lands right now. Saga. Oh no. Grindstone. Double oh no. Alright, cool. Brainstorm's gotta save me. Alright, shitload of lands. Fallen Shinobi. Hello, hello. Am I ready for you? I actually am on... Oh no, Teferi's gotta go in there somewhere. I was about to say I'm on the god curve of Spell Queller into Shinobi, but Teferi is required for the picking up Spell Queller to make any sense. Teferi is really important. I think Force of Will is important. I was looking for lands. I'm going to put Shinobi and land on top, or land Shinobi. Yeah, land Shinobi. I do want that Shinobi. Give it to me, or I will take it. Let's hope they don't have Ancient Tomb right now, and this saga just ticks up a little. I would really like Teferi to bounce this Ancient Tomb. This is unacceptable. Of course, pitching Queller. My opponent just saw me pitch Spell Queller. Oh, the secret's out. I am going to use Teferi to bounce the Saga here, though. I'm going to fetch 2 white sources, because white's more important against this deck than black is. Black is the splash in this deck. Core blue-white. Teferi's in, bounce Saga. Found the 4th land, cool. I'm setting up this Brazen Borrower into Fallen Shinobi line. I'm so excited about. Brainstorm from the opponent. What if Fallen Shinobi hits Painter and Grindstone? That would be my favorite timeline. Yeah, there's the Pyroblast. Okay. The Fairy was already good for a card. And all of the intangible effects of bouncing a land. I was busy narrating and just played the wrong land. I have Brainstorm in my hand and a 3-drop. This is literally the perfect conditions for playing that fetch land. I'm gonna jam Brazen Bee and see if I can get in there with Fallen Shinobi. It's a little dangerous because they're a Pyroblast deck. I think I should start with the Brainstorm. If I can protect this Shinobi situation, that would be so much better. Okay, I'll wait a turn. I think Bitterblossom is bad, and I don't need 5 lands, that's for sure. I'm gonna make my attack and see what they do about that. I can jam this to Fairy that could soak up a Red Blast this turn, if they have another one. Or Teferi can just bounce Saga again. I'm fine with either of those versions of events. Hardcast Force of Negation. Okay. That's much worse for me than simply Shinobiing. They wouldn't have been able to force a negation of Shinobi. Now they can start making Saga tokens. It's starting to come off the rails a little here. Maybe Shinobi sucks. I just don't want to tap out in my tempo deck. I'll never admit it, though. Another Saga. Gonna shuffle up here. Don't want these ones. Come on, Force of Will. Photobug. I'm going to Shinobi Town. Population U. Bang. Please don't have Pyroblast. Let it hit. Let it hit. Give it to me. Oh, they're brainstorming in response. No, 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 no. Oh, this actually clears the top 2 cards of their deck, and I don't get to steal Insano cards. Damn. That's cheating. Okay. You used the brainstorm. All right, looks like we are getting the trigger. How much could you hide from me? Wow, force and force. Well, those won't help me here. And then next turn, they'll have an army of constructs to block my Shinobi with. It does take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It takes 5 mana to win with Painter from here, which is the amount of mana that they are possibly representing. And if their deck has Lion's Eye Diamond in it, they can tutor it. I really hope they make a construct this turn. Okay, good. If they had just floated mana, I would have been a lot more worried. Spellquell is really dangerous against the deck with main deck Pyroblast. Relic of Progenitus. Oh, are you the Murktide Regent deck? Yeah, that's probably what's going on. This is the Is It Murktide thing. I played this on the channel last week. And my opponent did say they're a fan of the channel, so maybe this is the same list. Yeah, Murktide's a beating here. Oh, that's not Murktide. Good. Good. Retrofitter Foundry is also a beating here. They can't really attack. Come on, Teferi. 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 Force of Will. That's not what I wanted. I can attack and just trade off with the constructs, get that stable. Yeah, them going from no creatures to a pair of 6/6s that quickly is unfortunate for me. Okay, I'll bounce one of these, then attack with my 5/4. I will at least remove the things that I can remove. I can't let this thing just be in play and be big forever. I do have a clean line to remove both of their things right now. And I'm able to quell a painter if it shows up. I just get another 6/6 right away. Saga is the card I identified in the deck as being of concern to me, particularly in the land shell, but Saga decks in general. This deck's not super great at beating in the long game, but I mean, that's the point of Urza Saga. It's hard to beat in the long game. Get the Brazen Borrower down. And tempoing them out is the play at this point. On Teferi. Always want Teferi. Oh, Brazen Borrower is also really good, though. Attack for 6, or 3. Yeah, attack for 6. Take 6, you're dead. And I think I want to Petty Theft their construct right now while they can't Red Blast that part of it. Ponder. I'm saving the Spell Queller for something big. They shuffled Ponder. Yeah, they're kind of too far behind on mana to get this Retrofitter Foundry in front of what it needs to be in front of. Well, YOLO. 2 cards left in their hand. Are they Red Blast? Or Force of Will? Ooh, that happened. I was not expecting that creature, or that Force of Will to resolve. And this is Murky Paint. So if their hand isn't Red Blast, okay, Unholy Heat is good news. I was about to say, what's left in their hand? They've done all this sculpting. Well, now Teferi shows up. I would have kept my Force of Will if I knew that. Thanks for nothing, Teferi. Okay, I'm gonna slam Teferi here. They're just exiling cards from my graveyard in response. I'm gonna plus Teferi because if they have another Murktide or some way to put permanents into play, I want to answer that next turn while I'm tempoing them out. Just like randomly drawing a card isn't that good here. If they Red Blast Teferi, they didn't have Red Blast last turn though. Okay, yeah, they would need something like Expressive Iteration to shred into their deck. I think the scariest thing they could do here is like put Painter in their hand and Red Blast in exile and kill Teferi. Okay, Lightning Bolt doesn't kill Teferi. It does kill Brazen Borrower. That's a temporary situation. Ponder, okay. If they play Saga, I can bounce it. This Foundry is starting to become a problem though. That will probably outpace my Bitterblossom eventually. Now they're on 5 mana, and they didn't shuffle their Ponder, which makes me think that they have Painter now. I'm gonna bounce Foundry. Yes. Can't wait to counter a Painter Servant with this. Okay, fetching. It's a Painter time. I got 3 of them, and I have Teferi, so I know they can't fight over this. Another one for the highlight reel. What Spellstutter Sprite makes for the best screenshots. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I talked a lot of shit, but we're not out of it yet. I gotta find another draw. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Come on, deck. Don't do me like this. They're at 1. They're literally at 1. Oh, sweet relief. Sorry, opponent. I know you're a fan of the channel. I'm sure you'll watch this later and know what was so close to happening. I actually need to plow the Painter now because they have 2 grindstones. Like, if they grind me, I plow in response. Like, if they have a land, I know one of their cards is Retrofitter Foundry, but if they draw a land, I lose to Painter. God, I wish I could let them commit, but I have to plow it now. That sucks. And now they know that popping Relic to get the extra draw is important. Yep. So they're drawing with Relic. There's probably 4 painters in this deck, and I've already answered 3 of them. Just like, please don't hit a 1-outer for 1 turn. Fingers crossed, butt clenched. Oh, ooh, they missed it. That was a tense one. Okay, Dress Down is good against this deck. Do I automatically bring in Zabo's Web against any Saga deck? Because I think Web is the only thing that actually does that in their deck. Or Saga's the only thing that does that in their deck. Fallen Shinobi, sorry, buddy. You are a liability against the deck full of Red Blasts. Plague Engineer can check Retrofitter Foundry, which my deck doesn't have a whole lot of answers to. Like just naming Servo or Thopter keeps the chain from going. Like naming Servo first makes sure they never get the thing. Does that matter? They did play Ponder, so Hull Breacher wants to come in. Queller is really dangerous against the Red Blast deck. I think I have to go lighter on that. Teferi was good. Bitterblossom is exactly the card you want in this matchup. You get to just tap out on turn 2 and then present threats while leaving up answers the rest of the game. That's where I want to be with that. Now the question is Plague Engineer. I could cut the 2 Yurikos, like cut 2 blue cards that aren't good at connecting, or 2 black cards that are kind of good at connecting. Is Yuriko better than Queller? I think I need some number of Queller to stay in the deck, though. What answers to Murktide Region am I playing? I still have all of those in. I have 3 Teferi, 2 Brazen Bar, 4 Plow, yeah, and Bitterblossom can force field a Murktide Regent. Yeah, I think this is the deck. 1 lander on the draw. It has... Yeah, I'm going to keep this. They can mess with my lands with Painter plus Red Blast if they paint everything blue. But this hand has multiple answers to Painter. And if you dress down in response to Painter, it doesn't get to name a color. It's just a 2-mana 1/3 for the whole game. If you dress down after Painter already named a color, it doesn't do anything, though. So you got to watch out for that. Like, Painter has already named the color at that point. 2 lands and another Teferi. That's exactly what I was looking for off that Ponder. Set up on lands for a while. Double dress down to fight through the Sagas. Prismatic Ending for the Retrofitter Foundry. I'm settling in for a long game here. Let's land go. Opponent did the same. Be a Brainstorm in the end step. Yep. Okay. Go for it. Not forcing that. They didn't fetch after their Brainstorm. They liked those cards. They liked one of those cards. They drew one of them and then shuffled away the other. That's kind of scary. Ponder action. Did not shuffle the Ponder. Okay. Am I going to tap out for Teferi? I don't think so. So I'm actually going to fetch here, shuffle away that Teferi, and just try to keep making land drops. If they want to play draw go, I am extremely interested in playing that with them. But whoever starts missing land drops first is going to lose, because then they have to start casting spells, and whoever casts spells first in a draw go situation usually ends up losing. I'm going to use Brainstorm in the end step to try to find more land drops. And then finding some flash threats will be the next step, which my deck is full of. They're fetching. They have 5 cards with 2 spells. They could make a 5/5 Murktide right now. All right, let's just dress down this jerk on the way in. Double Red Blast would be disappointing here. There's 1. I don't really want to pitch any of the blue cards that are currently in my hand, but I will. I'll give up the Teferi. And I'm countering Pyroblast, not Painter, because I do want to draw the card off dress down. I think I can beat a 1/3 with no abilities. So in this case, I'd rather just cantrip. Double Pyroblast. Tough. Okay. I am going to let this resolve now. And then I'll untap Brainstorm and Prismatic Ending this card. Chosen color is blue. Brainstorm. Back Plague Engineer and probably Vendilion Click, though Spellstutter is also tempting. I'll put back one of the Spellstutters. Now I have a really difficult decision to make. Do I Brainstorm trying to hit this land drop, or just cast Prismatic Ending? And I think I want to Brainstorm. Okay, got rewarded. Spell Queller is out, and I think the second ending is also out. Or I can save Dress Down for later. Yeah, I'll put Dress Down back into the deck for now. Fetch another black source and Prismatic Ending. White, black. Get rid of that. Okay. That went as well as I could have hoped. Iteration to reload. Now we're in the danger zone. This game has been a pretty cool study in roles where in the early turns of the game, I think they're the beatdown because they have the combo. Like if they just start slamming painters and grindstones and stuff onto the stack, that's really dangerous. And then in the mid game, I become the beatdown because I'm the tempo deck. Like I do need to reduce their life total. And then in the late game, they take over control with expressive iteration. We just take turns deciding who's in charge or who should be presenting threats and who shouldn't, and or who needs to survive versus who doesn't. All right, force pitching Brainstorm is strong. I can Spellstutter Sprite a Grindstone. Can't Spellstutter a Force. Like now I'm behind. I was really happy to play Draw Go for most of the game, but now I am suddenly in trouble. Okay, please don't have a relevant card be the last card in your hand right now. Dope. Oh, is it at the second Grindstone? Oh, it's the Murktide? Oh god. Expressive Iteration. That's also scary. Like right now I'm winning, but this Expressive Iteration looks at 3 cards, which could totally change that. Like if I untap right, like if this was an Expressive Iteration, if this was just like a land in their hand, I think I am winning this game almost every time. But obviously that's not what happened. And now they're ahead of the 1-point damage race. Okay, awesome, awesome draw. I'm stopping in their draw step. I'm going to click them after they draw and check if I need to remove any of these cards because Swords to Plowshares can answer the painter now. Blue, blue, blue. Vendilion Click. Let's have a peek. What did you keep with that Expressive Iteration? Flusterstorm Urza Saga. Interesting. I guess I have to take the Fluster because... Or no, I just wait until my turn. No. You can have both those cards. Well, I can't take the Saga, which I would love to take. But I don't care about Flusterstorm here. Queller, cool. So I got to tempo this player out before they get anything else going. I'm going to plow in their upkeep. Storm is 1, so I can pay for this. Their thing's gone. Nice. Constructs are scary. It's true. I think I just want the damage on the board. Put Spell Queller down. Let's go. Not having a spell under it means I don't have to worry about Pyroblast freeing their spell later either. Here they come. They get to make a 1/1 construct, untap, make a 2/2 construct, tutor up Retrofitter Foundry. So they have a pair of 4/4s really quickly that get to do more. Ugh, this is getting tough. Saga's so good against my deck. There is the Dress Down that I tucked in there earlier. Oh, did they misclick or did they draw Saga? Or draw Painter? I feel like there should be another construct in play right now, but there's not. They have so much mana. What are they doing with it? I'm scared. I can counter a Painter. There are 2 fairies in play, and Flusterstorm does not interact with Spellstutter Sprite. I'm going to attack, see if anything happens in combat, and then I'm going to Brainstorm. Red Blast. Is this a fight I'm interested in? Well, if they kill this, then Spellstutter doesn't counter... Spellstutter doesn't counter Painter anymore. That's a concern. Oh, that's good stuff. Is this good stuff, or is this irrelevant stuff? If the last card in their hand, if that mystery card is Painter Servant, I'm losing the game. Guess I could put back Plague Engineer and Spellstutter. Let this resolve. They take 2. Second main, shuffle those cards away that I don't want. Leave white up to cast Teferi, which can't get flustered, and if I'm right that their last card is Painter, that's also not a counter spell, and I just need like some sort of 1-mana interaction here, or a Force of Will. Bitterblossom's not it. Alright, let's see what I have to do here. If they have Painter, I can still Brainstorm into Force Blue card. That YOLO Grindstone activation in the end step was kind of weird. That makes me feel like they don't have it. Like, why would they waste the time? Okay, Unholy Heat. Interesting that they valued Queller over Teferi. That means they definitely don't have Painter. Because they would want to use their Flusterstorm to protect their Painter if they actually had the combo, which they clearly do not have now. And I found the Swords of Plowshares. Everything's coming up Fonzie here. I'm gonna Brainstorm. Spellstutter. Okay, Prismatic Ending. Yeah, we're pretty rolled up here. If I put back Land and Spellstutter, and in Spellstutter, then I can Bitterblossom, and because Teferi plussed, I can exile Grindstone at instant speed, and I can plow a Painter or Murktide. This is starting to look pretty good. Oh shit. Right. They get to clear the top of my deck. If they're on this slow mill plan, just get rid of this thing. I'm not trying to get cheesed out by a slow mill strat against my Bitterblossom. Yeah, that milled the Spellstutter. I didn't want the Underground Sea anyway, so like one medium card and one good card, one bad card got milled by that. But now Bitterblossom's going to town. And we found the Dress Down. I feel like I'm back in control here. Expressive Iteration could power through. I don't interact with that card particularly well. I am ahead. That changes things. Not really, though. Like, I'm still ahead. The race is still the same. I still have all the answers in my hand. Now their Flusterstorm is on, though. Ooh, Quellerino. Oh, yeah. If you're lightning bolting fairy tokens, and I'm not at, like, 4 life or whatever, that's a bad spot. They are showing weakness right now. Kind of a fun decision here of play this land to respect the Flusterstorm, or I just don't have any respect for Flusterstorm. And maybe play to drawing a Brainstorm. I also just realized a cool interaction in the deck, which is if I dress down like if they try to kill Spell Queller and I dress down, then they don't get the spell back. I had not considered that, and it's fucking rules. I've decided this game's not going to go long enough where holding back a land for Brainstorm is important, so I'm just going to play out the land and respect the Flusterstorm as much as I can. Okay, opponent is bolting themselves for style points here. They confirmed in the chat that Urza Saga a couple turns ago was a misclick. They did mean to make the second Saga token, which definitely would have been a presence on this board. Tough. Magic Online is a harsh mistress. On to the final round. We're 3-1. I'm on the play in the final round. Our positive record is locked. We're playing for the bread and butter 4-1. I'm going to mulligan this hand of 6 lands and Brazen Borrower. Island Ponder, let's go. I'm keeping this and bottoming Hull Breacher. I can fetch basic island to play around Wasteland, or I can bet on black and just get my Underground Sea. At which point any land casts Bitterblossom. I think I'm going to get the sea. Just hope they're not a Wasteland deck. Or hope they don't Wasteland me. And Ponder needs to find lands either way. Ponder. Oh yeah. We're lined up here. I stacked it so I drew the non-fetch land first, because I actually do want Spellstutter Sprite, assuming that my Bitterblossom resolves. Like, that becomes the best card in the deck in those situations. Uh-oh. Okay, Ponder. Thought we were gonna face down our first Ragavan of the league. Luckily, Spellstutter Sprite is really good against Ragavan, both on the stack and in battle. Okay, let's put them to the test. Do you have interaction for this? Bitterblossom's in. They either can't interact with it or don't care. BRC, okay. Well, let's see how Bitterblossom holds up against the present day Legacy format. I am going to ending this card immediately before it gets any value. They can Brainstorm in response. I would like to Spellstutter this Brainstorm, but not at the cost of getting my ending dazed. Spellstutter will find targets in this matchup. Don't you worry about that. 1 threat down. I will Spellstutter the shit out of this. I'm going to fetch Tundra to do it. If they daze this, that's still daze that had to be used defensively rather than offensively, which is the posture that I want in the early part of this game. Wow, that resolved. Get out. Get out. And Wasteland can take me off black here. That's okay. White's the more important color by a lot. For that reason. I'm going to Ponder, try to keep hitting land drops. Queller, I think, is a little soft for this matchup. So I'm going to stack Click on top of it. And I get to hold up Spellstutter again, which they pretty clearly don't have days for. Steam Vents. Murktide's pretty good. That can resolve. And then next turn I'll actually have enough fairies to counter a Force of Will. Alright, I don't give a shit about Ragavan. Okay, so fairy number 5 is in play. Towards the Plowshare is this. Oh, it's just gone. Great. And I'm going to attack with 2 fairies. I don't want Ragavan to be able to connect off of a single lightning bolt. If they have 2, they earned it. Plus they have to get through Spellstutter Sprite. But Rag starting to do stuff is how this game could fall apart. Probably should have countered that. How do they have 0 cards in their graveyard? Oh, they cast Murktide last turn. I was like, that doesn't make any fucking sense. Yeah, I probably should have Spellstutter this DRC though. But now I have Queller and Click ready to go. I'm gonna attack with 3 fairies. I actually think Spellstutter is better than Click. I'm not gonna click their draw step. I might click end step if they don't do anything I care about. Gutshot a fairy. Okay. Fairy's been gutshot. Right. Lightning bolt. This looks like a good target for Spellstutter. I should have let Surveil resolve first, but I was countering that either way. Still don't have any attacks. I just conceded. Bitterblossom unbeatable. On to game 2. Flusterstorm I want. Force of Will I want less of. I want some number, but I don't want 4. Queller's really dangerous. I actually like Yuriko a lot. I don't like Fallen Shinobi. As dope as this card is, I don't think this belongs in the deck. After playing the 5 matches, 4.5 matches that we've played so far, it just like dies to too many things. I don't know. Your mileage may vary on that one. Hull Breacher is good. It's just another flash threat. Being blue, dying to Red Blast and Lightning Bolt and trading with Ragavan in combat all suck, but if I can pull ahead at all, which the 1/1 fairies are pretty good at doing. Plague Engineer, is that better than Yuriko? Yuriko is a blue card versus this black card. Yeah, I think I want the Plague Engineers in, and I think I want the 3rd Engineer over the 3rd Queller, or over the 4th Queller, because Queller is just so dangerous against this deck full of removal. And Dress Down isn't great against this deck. I don't have any mass graveyard hate like Rest in Peace. I went with the Cage over that. I considered playing Rest in Peace. The deck could play it, obviously. It's a white deck that doesn't use its graveyard at all. So that might be worth considering on the rebuild. Do I want 1 less Bitterblossom on the draw? And if so, what am I cutting for it? No, Bitterblossom was just so freaking good that game. Okay, let's do this. I mean, Spell Queller does have the extra text of 2/3 body, 2/3 flash. Even without a spell tucked under it, it still just eats Ragavan. This hand gets chewed apart by Ragavan, but is pretty reasonable in a longer game. I'll keep this. The hard choice will be if they just turn 1 Ragavan, do I force it? And I think I do, unfortunately. Okay, I'll ignore a DRC. Ooh, Bitter B. Let's go. Just how we drew it up. Taking 1 here. I'm just going to elbow tap this Bitterblossom into play. Fetch. But this card is much worse on the draw when they already have a creature compared to last game when it was on the play and they didn't play a creature on turn 1. I will not protect this with Force of Will if they daze it. Okay. Yeah, I'd rather protect Teferi with Force of Will next turn and they can just daze my card now. In for another 1. This is the difference between Dragon's Rage Channeler and Ragavan. Like, Ragavan would have made 3 mana and draw 3 cards by now, but instead we're just like at 17 and totally fine. Holy B, I got some choices. I can ponder looking for an answer to Ragavan, like Swords to Plowshares or ending, and I can still Spellstutter at that point. I could just jam Teferi. I could hold up Hull Breacher. Holding up Hull Breacher is not an option. I'm going to ponder. Another Spellstutter with a ponder underneath it. I think I want to shuffle this. Really interested in a white card there. I'll flash in Spellstutter to just block Ragavan. The secret mode of this card that hasn't come up yet this league. Oh, if they main phase, oh, bummer. About to say if they main phase a spell, but not that one. Okay. Iteration resolves. I guess I could have Brazen Borrowered Ragavan in response. Yeah, I don't have to spend my Spellstutter. I could just bounce Rag. Wasteland, that sucks. I'm going to fetch another Tundra here and bounce Ragavan. Now that they can't dash it, it's a lot better. Brazen Borrower can trade with Dragon's Rage Channeler next turn, and it has to fight. I've not missed land drops yet. This Brazen Borrower just resolved, like with reckless impunity. Just hit the board. This might be the time to check with Teferi. And I do have Force backup. I would like to get this board stable if I can. Cool. Now I can force Ragavan. Like, I really hope they spend their mana dashing Ragavan. I can force that, and then I'm untapping with Spellstutter Sprite and Hull Breacher available. They could also just Lightning Bolt Teferi before they make any plays. That's not the one I'm fighting over. Oh, you got two of those. Lightning Bolt targeting Teferi. And the Festivities is in this deck. I just said festivities. Festivities. End them. Put them away. Okay. Fairy's dead. I feel like I had a window there to do something, and they just played around it extremely well. I'm gonna ponder. I am interested in white cards and land drops. Okay, I'm gonna put Prismatic Ending on the top. Don't shuffle. Allow one of these channelers. I'm gonna have to force Ragavan if they dash it. So I just put Ending on top, which is the best card if I don't get hit by Ragavan, and it's one of the better cards if I do get hit by Ragavan, because they have no target for it. Force, I think Hull Breacher is done being relevant this game. Vendilion Click can interact with DRC in combat, and Spellstutter Sprite interacts with most of their good things. I go to 8 here. Brainstorm. Uh-oh, they have another 1-drop right now. That's what I didn't want to happen. Delver. Can I spend a Force of Will on this? I don't think so. They just shuffled to cast that, so whatever comes off the top is random. Exile Dragon's Rage Channeler. And I'm holding up Spellstutter. Delver didn't flip. Puts me to 7. The Brainstorm that I knew was here. I actually like all the cards in my hand. I'm not going to cast Brainstorm right now. Daze is the card that is on top of their deck. Okay, I'm going to cast Brazen Borrower now, so it's in play before they can daze it. Right, they just drew Daze. They have a Lightning Bolt they can punch through. Yeah, Red Elemental Blast also fits the bill. Daze 2 mystery cards in hand. Maybe I'm supposed to just fire off Spellstutter last turn and block. I don't know. It's tough. Okay, let's Brainstorm looking for a white card. That's always the plan. Oh, shitload of white cards. If they have Force of Will, I need both plows. I definitely need the land. I'm going to put back Brainstorm and Vendilion Click, I think. Is that the order I want them in? Yes. Brainstorm and Vendilion Click. Arrakis can also bounce a Rogue Ragavan. I'm going to wait till their turn to do this. If they want to hardcast Force of Negation. Oh, but if they hardcast Force of Will. Alright, no, I'm doing it now. Before they have 5 mana for Force of Will. Okay, I can bounce Ragavan. I can Swords of Plowshares Murktide Regent. Drawing Vendilion Click. I've reached ahead of the days. I can plow that. I also don't have to plow this. I could put Vendilion Click just in front of it. Yeah, I think I want to sit on this plow for Murktide Regent related business. And I'm going to try to ambush DRC in combat rather than check their hand. Well, I don't have to ambush it. I'm going to check their hand in their draw step. Yeah, you don't have to trick them into attacking with this card. It has to attack. Yeah, I should have just plowed this thing. Like, the more that this looks, like, the more I keep playing into days here, the worse it gets. The Click resolved, so I get a peek. I know what I got to play around here. Lightning Bolted Click in response. I'm going to let them surveil. There's 2 cards left in this hand. One of them's Daze. I really want this Spellstutter. I don't want to go to 3 against the Lightning Bolt deck. I could just pick up Click, functionally counter the lightning bolt, but then I go to 1. Yeah, I still think that's fine. And being at 1 sucks, but being dead sucks more. Gonna bottom expressive iteration. Their hand is daze and whatever they just found off the click. And I go to 1 here. So Force of Will is off. They've cast 2 lightning bolts. And they drew Delver. Okay. Alright, I have all the information I need at this point. Swords to Plowshares, this. Oh, wait. Then I lose the Delver. Alright, Swords to Plowshares, that. And I can't run into daze here, so I have to play Spellstutter. So Spellstutter will buy a turn against Delver. Oh, they just revealed Lightning Bolt. Okay. Never mind. I am just completely fucking dead. I'm to brainstorm and try to figure this out. Yeah, like just revealing Lightning Bolt there, sure, whatever. I got a little greedy with that sequence at the end there. I should have just plowed the Dragon's Rage Channeler when I knew they couldn't do anything about it, and then deal with the remaining threats. I was just like planning ahead for a Murktide Regent, not really respecting the fact that I don't get to plan ahead. Like they actually just had me beat on the board. Okay, Bitterblossom on the play. Spell Queller just as a 2/3 flying body might be worth considering over the Plague Engineer. Yeah, I think I like that. That's the only change I'm going to make. On the play, I have Ponder and Spellstutter and some interaction. I'm going to keep this. And I am just going to lead on Underground Sea. I know they're a Wasteland deck, but I play kind of a lot of lands, and I need my Scalding Tarn to make white in this matchup. Opponent kept 6. Okay, let's do it. Ponder, mostly looking for lands and white cards. That was neither. Quickly shovel that one away. Brazen Borrower. That's not Wasteland. Is it Ragavan? Okay. White card off the top. Force of Will does back up my Spellstutter sprite. If it has to. Not happy about it, but it's a thing. Also just take the hit. I think I want to Brazen Borrow this. Bounce it. I'm not going to take the hit without putting up a fight at all. But how much... Like, if I commit Force of Will to this on top of the Brazen Borrower, or do we just let it get bounced and then replay it or whatever and back? Pyroblast that. Okay. I'm going to let it get hit. Hope it doesn't do too much damage. And then, obviously, it hits Brainstorm. Just, fucking Ragavan. If I draw a land, Ragavan's under control. I have Plague Engineer with Force backup. Shocked in a land. Okay. Come on, deck. Fuck my whole life. Alright, yeah, well, we've missed a land drop against Delver. Now we're not going to win. That was the window right there. Now they saw me miss a land drop. If they have Wasteland or can cantrip into one, we're just fucked into the sun. I will contest this board with Brazen Borrower again. He's... Oh, I hate this so much. Force pitching Hull Breacher. Alright, please don't find a Wasteland. Flooded Strand was the exiled card. Alright, deck, give me another chance here. Find that land. That's all I want in my life. Land? Okay. Saying there's a chance. They have 5 cards in their hand. I hope they're not good. It's the only bet I can make at this point. Alright, it resolved. Destroy all pirates. That does turn on the DRC, but like I've said, Ragavan is the one I'm worried about. Like, life total as a resource is one thing. Your life total and your deck and all of their mana as resources is a different thing. Yeah, Murktide's a complete monster here. Needed Swords to Plowshares pretty quick. Bitterblossom. I don't have time to take a hit from Murktide and then get into the force field, unfortunately. They have 2 card types in their graveyard. Yeah, I think I have to flash in click, target myself, bottom my Bitterblossom, and chump block for a turn, and that just gives me 2 draws to try to do anything. It could also just easily re-achieve Delirium here. Guess I could have Spellstuttered this Ponder. Try to slow things down. That just gets me another draw step and plays around days. That's probably better. Whoops. Iteration, that sucks. Guess I'll click in response before they fill their hand up with cards again. I'm going to target myself, get rid of Bitterblossom, try to turn that into a real card. Turned it into Scalding Tarn. Okay. Now I have the choice to make of I can trade with Dragon's Rage Channeler and go to 3, where I'm dead to Lightning Bolt, but Swords to Plowshares completely empties their board. Or Chump Block, go to 8, where Swords to Plowshares removes this, and then I go to 5 from the next attack. I don't think I can go to 3 against this deck that hasn't cast a single Lightning Bolt yet. They're 21 cards into their deck and haven't cast a 4 of. I do have Spellstutter Sprite, which can fight like the Lightning Bolt axis, but I'm still struggling on mana down here. Yeah, I think the 2-land Ponder miss on the next land was our death knell. The game was already really tight and competitive, and then I missed a land drop, and then it just wasn't tight anymore. Wow, they found Gut Shot off of that. Okay, I'm just dead on board instead of dead next turn. Okay, good stuff. I love playing against Ragavan. 3 and 2 with this Fairy Queller brew. Some notes from the match. Lands was as horrific as advertised. There's a couple of things you could do about that, and back to basics is a big one. And once we get out of the stipulation of playing Spellstutter Sprite and Spell Queller as 4-ofs, you can start building decks that focus more on one or the other. Like, I think there's a pretty cool blue-black fairies deck here, and I think there's the bones of a pretty cool blue-white spirits deck here. Like, having to play the fairy and the spirit really stretches the synergy of each, because those are both well-supported tribes in Magic, and you could play like a Merfolk-esque spirits deck, or you could play a really more heavily controlling like Thoughtseize Bitterblossom blue-black deck, and both of those decks get to play a ton of basic lands, which unlocks back to basics, which would help the lands matchup. That also helps your Wasteland matchup. Like, stumbling on lands against Delver is just GG. So you get to have more stable mana there, and a more consistent thing that you're doing. I actually think both of those routes are really interesting. I know my dude Rearranged AS. Go check out his YouTube channel, by the way, Rearranged AS. He has put a bunch of work into spirits, blue-white spirits, across multiple formats, like Pioneer, Modern, Legacy. Might even have some Vintage Leagues. I don't know. But I've definitely lost to him playing blue-white spirits in Legacy before. And I have a Modern 5-0 with blue-black fairies on the channel somewhere. If you just search BoshNRoll fairies, I'm sure it'll come up. But I swept a Modern League, and all those guts are here for Legacy too. If you can focus on, like, cut a color and focus on one tribe or the other, I think that would go a long way. As far as developing this specific deck further, Fallen Shinobi did not live up to the hype. Sorry, buddy. Yuriko was actually pretty cool the time she came up, though I'm thinking that maybe Ninja of the Deep Hours is just better because it's not a legend, and this format is full of Caracas, and we're not really applying pressure at a level where we can overtax a Caracas. Like, if the Yuriko becomes Ninja of the Deep Hours, we're basically, or the other one, Ingenious Infiltrator, that one's harder to get into play because it's blue-black instead of blue colorless, but it is a 2/3, which matters a lot on defense against Ragavan, etc. Yeah, maybe Ingenious Infiltrator is better than Yuriko, just for the Caracas consideration. If we make that switch, we're kind of Caracas-proof. Like, I don't really care if my Vendilion Click gets bounced. Like, I play Caracas to bounce my own Vendilion Click. And Fallen Shinobi, just too big of a clunker for Legacy, unfortunately. It was a lot of fun when I played it in Modern, though. I think the Brazen Borrower and Click were both good. Hull Breacher didn't really come up. It is kind of a clunker also. Maybe you just want, like, Preordain in that spot, or something that's going to help you maximize your action on turn 2, because you basically always want Bitterblossom or Hold Up Spellstutter Sprite on turn 2. maybe you just put a Thoughtseize in that spot, but one Thoughtseize. I guess if you cut Hull Breacher and Fallen Shinobi, you can have 2 Thoughtseizes in the main deck, which could help you map out what you need to counter, what you need to fight against. And that supplements the clicks, so you actually have like 4 discard spells, like air quotes discard. That's pretty cool. I would also like some answer to a problematic land in the deck. Like, this color spread doesn't get Assassin's Trophy, or oh, we could play Vindicate. Oh, that's a 3-mana spell that doesn't really fit the theme of the deck, but you could play Vindicate, though I think probably just replacing a fetch land with a wasteland just as a tool you can look for, or you could replace your basic island and one of the fetches with 2 wastelands, and then you're kind of have an extra tempo angle on the deck, plus you have that surgical tool for the Tabernacle of Pendrell Veils of the world that are problems. Anyway, that's my thought dump at the end of playing this. There's a lot of tuning that could still go in, and like we saw at the beginning of the video, you could try this shell in Jeskai or Bant also. You could go 4 color, I don't know, play 5 colors. There might be some like creature deck that uses Ancient Ziggurat and lands like that, like 5 color creature lands, to just Spellstutter into Queller and like support it with Thalia or Kitesail Freebooter. Like, I don't know. Magic's great. You could do so many things with the stipulation of play Spellstutter Sprite and Spell Queller. But this is where I landed. Those are my thoughts at the end of the league. Dragon Day Dragon, thank you for asking me to do this. This was a lot of fun to brew and to play. The league went pretty well also. Totally my type of Magic. Thanks for asking me to do this. Everyone else, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.